ShaCarri Richardson is a sprinter, and she was unbelievable at the Olympic trials, and she's been DQ'd from the national team because she popped positive for weed. And what I tweeted is what I felt, and this is the great thing about having a radio show, which is you're allowed to go into further detail about what you tweet. You're allowed to admit it is stupid to test for weed and equally stupid to smoke it when preparing for the biggest sporting event in your life, knowing they're going to test you for it. Here's the football correlation. In football, every year they have two things. They have the scouting combine, but every NFL player has off-season testing. Okay? Off-season testing. But the football combine testing is what NFL executives consider not a drug test, but an IQ test. That's what they do. They call it an IQ test. Ask any NFL executive, front office or otherwise, and they will say that if you fail a drug test, and you even for weed, which in 19 states is legal, you have failed the IQ test. You are, in fact, a dumbass. And that's my feeling about ShaCarri Richardson. No, I have no sympathy. I don't. Do I think it's dumb to still test for weed? I do. There has never been any sort of data that shows it is a performance enhancer, and it is no longer considered a drug of addiction. So there really isn't a viable medical or sports-based logic for why you should test for marijuana. That said, everybody, and I mean everybody, who competes for the Olympics knows what you can and cannot have in your system, especially sprinters. Every writer, every athlete that comes out and says all of the same thing, this is dumb, I'm with her, then you're with stupid. You should wear one of those shirts you can buy at Walmart, at Target, or wherever. I'm with stupid, because you are. And I'm not saying she's dumb in life. I'm saying in this particular case, it's a dumbass move, and everybody knows it. And look, I would even say the same thing about this new push for Reggie Bush to have his Heisman back. Like, I don't think he should have given him back the Heisman. The fact that Reggie Bush doesn't have his Heisman and O.J. Simpson does have his Heisman is kind of laughable hypocrisy. That said, everyone knew you could not take money from an agent. And by the way, this is steroids in baseball, whatever. If it wasn't wrong at the time, why did Reggie Bush deny it so fervently? Why did he separate himself from his stepfather and say, this was not even me? I had no knowledge. Why wouldn't you meet with the NCAA? Because everyone knew, including you weren't supposed to do it. And instead of mounting a charge to take down the rule, you simply violated the rule. Then when you get caught with the rule, you're like, that's a bad rule. Ever got pulled over for speeding and thought to yourself, I wasn't going to harm anybody? Right? Like in Southern California, I guess technically they can pull you over for 1 mile an hour to speed limit. I was told it's 9. I've had other people say it's 4 or whatever. But if you're on a 55 mile an hour freeway, and there's nobody there, and everybody's going 70 miles an hour, like I'm going 73, 74, why you pull me over? Unless I'm weaving and swerving and I'm dancing, why? And the answer is because they can. But you're not going to the state board and trying to change the speed limit. You're not trying to make a change societally. You're not going, to your city council to try and kind of move from the bottom up. No, what you're doing is you got caught speeding and then you're blaming it on the rule. In life, we deal with bad rules. There are bad rules aplenty. You name the sport, it's got a bad rule. Right? You name the sport, it's got a bad rule. I mean, look, the NFL's rule where if the ball goes into the end zone and out of bounds, it's a touchback and the opposite team gets it is a terrible rule. But everybody knows the rule. Just like Reggie Bush knew the rules, just like ShaCarri Richardson knew the rules. It stinks. Our one of our best, if not our best, female sprinter won't represent our country. And I'm not some moral police saying, well, I don't want her representing. Yeah, I want her. She's great. I want to represent our country. And smoking a bowl doesn't mean that she's a bad person in any way. I have nothing. She's not morally corrupt. I'm not an idiot, right? I know how society's going. But you can't do it. I mean, this is Pete Rose 101, right? And by the way, ShaCarri Richardson was on the Today Show earlier today. And what did she say? I knew the rule. I knew I shouldn't have done it. We can make all kinds of... This is ShaCarri Richardson on the Today Show.
I want to take responsibility for my actions. I know what I did. I know what I'm supposed to do. And I still made that decision, but not making an excuse or looking for any empathy in my case. Right now, I'm just putting all of my time and energy into dealing with what I need to deal with to heal myself. So if I'm allowed to receive that blessing, then I'm grateful for it. But if not right now, I'm going to just focus on myself.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for her. You train 4 years for immortality, right? For immortality, you train for it. There's an allowance for the type of spikes you're able to use. There's an allowance in sprinting, okay, for a certain miles an hour of wind at your back to set a world record. Right? It's not your fault if all of a sudden when you ran there was a stiffer breeze and you went over the mark for a world record. But we have rules for a reason. Marijuana is banned during in-competition periods, which are defined beginning 11:59 p.m. on the day before a competition and ending at the conclusion. Athletes may have up to 150 nanograms per milliliter of THC, the main psychoactive substance in marijuana, without causing a positive test. You can even smoke weed. You just can't smoke weed that close to your event. And just don't smoke, you can't do the Cheech and Chong it right before a big event. That appears to be what she's done. I don't know how many nanograms it is, and I don't care. You know what the best way to not test positive for marijuana is? You guys aware of this? Listen, if you don't know, I got the secret here. Okay? Don't smoke weed. That's it. Like 3 months before, 6 months before, you're like, I'm going to make the Olympics. They're going to test me. I'm giving up smoking weed. Because no one tests positive for that amount of weed in their system the first time they've ever smoked. So it stinks for our Olympic team, but it's the same as the Reggie Bush. It's the same as so many other athletes. It's the same in society. Don't complain about the rule after you've gotten caught violating the rule, regardless of the level of intelligence of that rule.